Hey guys, Caitlin here, SnapEd Nutrition Educator in Waldo County, Maine. I've got a big one for you today. We're doing lots of recipes with cabbage. Be sure to check out the description box below for all of the recipes. They have a lot of similar ingredients, so I thought it'd be cool to stick them all in one video. Well, let's dive into the recipes. My husband actually made this first one. We're doing Ninja's cabbage and chicken. So he just chopped up the cabbage into nice long ribbons. It looks really pretty when it's cooked that way, and it's easier to eat, especially for our little guy. Then he went and sliced up the chicken. He tried to cut it in a similar way. You wouldn't want to do like big square cubes and then have long stringy cabbage. So he did nice long strips, but then made sure, went back and cut some of the ones that were a little too long. My husband is from Thailand and he's a classically trained chef, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of get his take. I love the cabbage when he shreds it. I had to play with it a little bit. I promise I washed my hands first. So now we're over here sizzling our chicken in a pan, and the powder you see sprinkled on top is the garlic and the ginger that we used. Again, check out the description box below for the full recipe, but we just let that sizzle for a little while. So once most of the pink is gone, you can see it's pretty much like 80% gone. You're gonna pour your sauce over the chicken. You can find all of the ingredients in the recipe in the description box. You can see that a sauce starts to develop. It starts to pull a lot of moisture out of the chicken. The sodium that's in the soy sauce does that. My little guy helping. I was just munching on some cabbage while I was waiting. It's not often that I get dinner cooked for me, so enjoying it. So now that the chicken is fully done, you'll see that some of the sauce has reduced a little bit and it's kind of crispy on some of the edges. There's a little bit more golden brown color to it. You just want to make sure it's not burning on the bottom. And then we add in the cabbage. Husband trying to make it look all fancy. I love it. Yeah, and then you just let it simmer for a little while, and I know that that looks crazy, that was a really drastic change, but it happens not quite that fast, but pretty fast. Cabbage is full of water, so it sizzles down really quickly. And then you can see there's still that sauce at the bottom. It's really nice. And there it is, the finished stir fry. We served it with rice, and it was so yummy. Alright, the next recipe is Indonesian style peanut noodle stir fry. This one is so yummy. These are all the ingredients that I used, but again, you can find the recipe in the description box below. These are some toppers that you could add to it, just some little fun extras that weren't in the recipe that I wanted to play around with a little bit. So there's the peanut butter and the soy sauce. Really, really simple sauce, and it's so yummy, and it can be used in many different ways. So I added some of the boiling water that I was boiling for the noodles, and I definitely added too much. As soon as I looked at the camera to see what I was doing, I overdid it. Of course, that's how it goes, right? But in the end, I was actually really glad that I did, because it didn't dry out, and I think that the noodles and everything might have gotten a little too dry had I not done that. So I just scraped it and then whisked it together. Literally the simplest sauce, guys. This is so yummy. You could stir fry any vegetables, any meat you want with this sauce, and it would be amazing. So after I sprayed the pan with some olive oil, I put my chicken chunks in there. I did want the chicken pretty chunky for this recipe because I wanted it to hold up to the noodles and to everything else in the dish. And once it got golden, I let it sit for a little bit to get golden on one side, and then I would stir it, let it sit for a little bit on a pink side, let it get golden. If you continuously stir it, you won't get those brown golden bits because it won't have enough time to rest to actually develop those caramelizations on the outside. Yum. So then I used fresh-ish ginger for this one. You can get this right in Hannaford in the produce section. It's on the end of the aisle with the mushrooms over near the garlic and things. At least at our Hannaford it is. And I just heat that up in the pan until I could smell it. I didn't want it to get brown, and I didn't want it to like dry out or caramelize or anything. I just heated it up enough until I could smell it, and then I stirred it and coated the chicken in it. And oh my goodness, did my kitchen smell amazing. Then I added some shredded carrots, and then my cabbage. And yes, I pay for the rainbow shredded carrots. My 2-year-old thinks that they're magic sticks, and he'll go to the refrigerator and eat it himself. So, I mean, if it gets him to choose vegetables on his own, I'll take it. So then I slowly started pouring in my sauce, and I wanted to make sure that I added some to just a little bit to the cabbage to help that kind of reduce down, but I wanted to save some for the noodles. So I had boiled the noodles and just had them sitting off on the side, not for too long because they can get mushy in the hot water, even if they're just sitting there. I strained them and then added them to the pan and topped that off with the remainder of my sauce before giving it a stir. I'm really glad that I put too much water in the sauce because, like I said before, I think if I hadn't, it would have been too dry. The noodles were not mushy, the cabbage was cooked just right, and everything was sauced. It wasn't a dry stir fry, but it wasn't soupy either. So I think if I had done less water, it probably wouldn't have worked out. And I did look at the measurements on the cup. The recipe calls for a 1/4 cup, and I did closer to a half. So I almost doubled the water, and it worked out pretty well for me. And those are the green onions on top, and there you have it. Easy stir fry. The creamy, rich peanut butter and the umami from the soy, delicious. All right, crunchy ramen cabbage salad. It's a slaw that you can actually stir fry the leftovers. Yeah, you hear me? 2 meals out of the leftovers. Awesome. So, cabbage, carrots. Super easy, guys. Chopped up broccoli, then some green onions, similar ingredients to everything else you've seen already. And then, yeah, raw ramen noodles. Crunchy, crispy, not cooked. Then take all of the dressing ingredients, super simple, put them in a jar together, mix it up, and yeah, you actually use the powder from the ramen. It's supposed to be chicken, and of course Hannaford didn't have it, so mine's a little browner, beef, but yeah, it's okay. It still turned out really great. And then, if you've seen any of my videos before, you know that I am terrible at choosing a bowl size, so of course this was horrible to try to mix, but I managed it off camera. But yeah, here it is. If you let it marinate in the fridge for about 2 hours, the crunchy noodles absorb more of the sauce and more of the flavor, and they get a little bit softer, but it does remain crunchy, and it is so, so yummy. I remember my mom used to make a salad like this when I was growing up, and this definitely takes me back to that. I love it. All right, and now for the fun part. Bonus round. You get to stir fry the leftovers. That's all I did. I threw the whole leftover thing in a wok and added about 3 tablespoons of water, and boom. Whole new dish, same recipe. Well, thank you so much for watching. As always, post your creations to social media with the hashtag MaineSnapEd, and head to mainesnaped.org for more.